Rarely wrong, always right. Mirejovsky here on News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right show. Happy Friday, yes, May 2nd. Things are progressing nicely. Those of you who have a standard work week, hopefully Saturday and Sunday are restful. A lot has happened this week. I want to put something on your radar. Also happens to be a political hot button issue. And that is the subject of real ID. Need to get it done by May 7th or you don't fly, basically. I need the real ID to be federally recognized, and it proves citizenship. And this takes me to an important point. I haven't talked to you about this, Robbie, and maybe you and I differ. I, for many years, as a conservative, had issue with requiring ID. I don't like it. I don't like federalizing it. There is a reason why the Biden administration pushed this thing back so many years. I mean, I got my real ID in California. I don't know. How long has it been that this real ID thing's been a requirement? It's like 5 years plus. They've 10. Yeah. They've been talking about this for a long time. Because I'm just letting you know, when I moved to Nevada in 2019, I already had a real ID. I, your host, Mirejovsky, was on top of my stuff. So I got the real ID because, of course, I fly a lot. And they kept saying, well, it's going to be in 6 months, it's going to be in a year, whatever. And I didn't want to, was renewing my driver's license. And I just didn't want to get, caught with my pants down. So anyway, I had already arranged it a long time before. But the whole time I'm thinking, I don't like this federalizing business of ID. Thomas Massey and other conservative people in the states have been vocally against this. That was before we were overrun in the last 4 years by 20 million illegal immigrants. And suddenly, the idea here of having ID that verifies citizenship in conjunction with a number of states, including right here in Nevada, us pushing to have voter ID, I think is not the worst thing. Robbie is glaring at me a little bit. I don't want non-citizens to vote. And the sad thing is that the damn Democrats have gotten us to this point where they've released the Kraken. Or, as one might say, all of the hoi polloi from south of the border into the country, and they're here, right? And Trump is trying to get them out. This, of course, is a big story this week as well. Every judge lining up on the left to stop Trump's deportations. Trump, I suspect a big news story next week will be that he's basically ignoring these judicial orders. My prediction, we talked about that yesterday. Nonetheless, getting benefits, okay, voting, and other things that require permanent residency, green card, and or citizenship, I want to know, right? I want folks to be able to show that they qualify. So, and California and all these lib states are handing out driver's licenses to illegals left and right. One of the things that, I've heard of this, and I'm sure you have too, that there are, illegals in the U.S. that move first to California, get a driver's license, and then will go to a state like Nevada where it is much more difficult to get a driver's license as a non-citizen, or Florida, etc. Right? So it's glaring loophole. So federalizing it, it's not the end of the world. I'm just pointing this out. Not a bad thing. Now, speaking of immigration, now, I can't believe this. Kilmar Abrego Garcia continues to be in the news, and the traffic stop, the video of that traffic stop that I told you about now a couple weeks ago, when Abrego Garcia was traveling with 7 other people in the car, he was driving a vehicle, an SUV that belonged to a confessed human smuggler, an illegal alien, Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes. That's a mouthful. But Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes had this car. It was his car. He previously had confessed to human smuggling. Pulled over for speeding. Anyway, there's a video now of the traffic stop. I don't know if you're noticing something. There is, I think it's deliberate. There's this dribble, drip, drip of stuff coming out about Abrego Garcia that just continues to nail down the original point that this guy's a bad dude and really doesn't deserve, well, of course, to be in the country, A, but B, doesn't deserve to be rallied around the way the Democrats have thus far. I was texting with my cousin in Europe. She's in private banking, very fancy bank. Won't name the bank, but apparently, Robbie, and I haven't told you this either yet. Busy day today. So she is at an event where there is a Kennedy, and I haven't been able to tell which Kennedy. She texted me before it, and she says, "Sam, I was being Kennedy. I'm going to talk to him about Trump." I said, "Whoa! Careful. There is only one Kennedy that is friendly with Trump, and all the other Kennedys that I'm aware of are not friendly with him, let alone with Trump. So just don't bring up any, Trump." So she goes, okay. So then I get a text, of course, 9 hours ahead. So their day is already over now, or 10 o'clock at night there now. And so I get this text that she met with this lady, and again, I don't know which one. And literally this woman, now they're on some yacht in the Mediterranean in Italy. But she had gotten 2 days ago, Robbie, this Kennedy lady was telling everybody on the yacht how she went down to El Salvador on her own dime. This flew to El Salvador to check on the poor plight of the deportables. This is happening. Yeah, this, by the way, not anywhere on the news. It's just my intel here that you get because you listen to the What's Right show. So I'm just bringing this up. It's hilarious. You imagine, I know they've got a lot of money, big trusts. None of these people have done anything real in their lives. Ironically, RFK Jr. is, I think, one of the first Kennedys to really go out there and do something on his own, make his own mark on the world, if you will, have a brand that is separate from his family's dynastic identity. So it's, this is so they all, of course, hate him. But so these people are the Dems still have it in their heads that these El Salvadorians that are being repatriated back to their country of origin are a worthy cause. They're just going to, I think, begin, as we see now with Abrego Garcia, begin to diversify in their interest, because Abrego Garcia, more that comes out about this, just continues to get worse and worse. I'm telling you, well, this traffic stop, it's also got the officers on there talking, right? The officers are talking amongst themselves. I'm going to play the clips here in a moment. None of it is defensible, folks. None of it adds up to anything other than Biden let these people in. Biden let these people stay. Biden waved a magic temporary protected status, TPS wand, over them. Abracadabra, legalizing them, albeit in a temporary way. Thank goodness, not any mass amnesty. That would have required an act of Congress to do. And now we're debating whether or not we should send these people back. And the state of the Democratic Party is that they want the gangbangers to remain in your neighborhood. That's the takeaway line. Okay, quick break, and I'll play the the clips here of this just got released literally since we got off air yesterday. So it's fresh off the presses. And I think very important to see. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam and Ash 702-820-1234 because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam and Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. Sam at what'srightshow.com. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam is where you find me on X, formerly known as Twitter. It is the place to be. I keep saying this, but get on Twitter, open up an account. It's called X now. It's being run by Elon Musk. Give it a try. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, this is the guy, this is the Maryland man. This is the nice father, loving husband, / MS-13 gangbanger, wife beater, and human trafficker, allegedly. Well, some pretty convincing evidence. And by the way, you don't have to prove. Can I just again about due process? Let me explain something to you. A lawyer talking. Due process for somebody in the country illegally does not mean that we have to have a trial and prove dispositively that these things are in fact true. It simply means that there is some proceeding, could even be an administrative proceeding, that transpired, that looked at it, goes, you know what, there's a lot of bad things here, and based on this, we don't think you should be here. We're not going to give you any further TPS, temporary protected status. There it is. It's done. You don't get to show up at the border and the, Border Patrol, boots you from the country, doesn't let you come in. You don't say, I want a trial. I want to see a judge. They can make that decision. There has to be a process, followed, but it's not formalized. Very important when you hear people constantly bray about this, need to have due process. Okay, so with that in mind, Abrego Garcia was pulled over at a traffic stop. This occurred. This is fascinating because we heard about this a couple weeks ago. We talked about it, of course, here on the program, but we also, now have a video of it. This is, body cam footage from the stop. This, and this was, let's see here. I'll pull this up here. Okay. This is the part 1 of the traffic stop body cam video. Kilmar Abrego Garcia talking to the Tennessee Highway Patrol trooper. And this is how it all started.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good, and you?
All right.
Everything good?
You got a bunch of people here, don't you?
It's 1 for sick. Yes. Go back to work.
Gotcha. Where are you working at?
Where?
Where?
San Luis, Missouri.
Missouri?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm from to Maryland.
Where do y'all live at?
Where I living? I live in Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah,
Maryland.
also.
Whose vehicle is it?
What, excuse me?
Whose car is it?
It's to my boss.
Your boss?
My boss, yeah.
Where's he live? Where's your boss live?
My boss right now is staying in Maryland, but we live in Texas.
Okay.
In Houston, Texas.
Well, it turns out it's not the Maryland man. It's the Maryland man. Okay. This whole thing is sus as all heck. All right. You can see a bunch of people in the car. You can see this guy, the car. He's like, it belongs to my boss. Funny enough, this guy is an admitted human trafficker, the person who owns the car. So what kind of work exactly is Mr. Abrego Garcia in? line of work, that is. We were told he was a union worker. He was just a hardworking blue-collar guy from El Salvador with some nice, cute tattoos that meant nothing. Crazy. Now, the next part of the tape, you'll hear the troopers talking amongst themselves. There's two troopers there going back and forth on the audio. And you'll hear, this is then Jesse Waters has his commentary about it because he aired this on his show last night, Fox News. And this is what it sounded like.
You know what you got here, right?
No.
He's hauling these people for money. You got an ass hauler is what he's doing. But sometimes they commingle dope.
No, but
There's 8 people in there.
yeah, I know. I didn't know that. They put an extra row of seats in there.
Yeah. So he's getting paid to haul these people, probably to Maryland, I would say, if I had my
He
guess.
said they all work together. That's what he's telling me, but he's the only one that knows half
So,
English.
so let me ask you this: they don't have any luggage in there, right? And if you get them out, they're gonna have a toothpaste and they're gonna have toothbrushes in their pockets. I guarantee it.
He's got $1,400 cash in his pocket in an envelope.
So in the video, you can see one of the cops making a phone call. The body cam audio cuts out for 10 minutes. Sources told us that on that call was Joe Biden's FBI, which advised police not to detain Kilmar at the time. That source also tells us Highway Patrol called Biden's ICE, and they never showed up.
Let me remind you folks that for several months, if not a couple years now, I have been saying here on this program that Biden was running, when president, that the Biden administration was running the largest human trafficking operation in the history of the world. The scale at which people were transported, if you take the number, it's like 10 million, 20 million. But these people were getting transported and put into the country with the knowledge of this now former, thankfully, administration. This is crazy stuff. The conversation that we ought to be having now, the dialogue, if you will, with folks in the media and politicians is, how could we have allowed this to happen? How could Biden and the Biden administration have let's say that's the most charitable view, permitted. I think they facilitated it, and I think that all of these NGOs paid through various shady governmental agencies, okay, like USAID, that DOGE has discovered and has begun cutting off sources of funds for these operations. Catholic Charities involved in this. Very sad to see that, but it's the undisputed truth. I mean, Catholic Charities are getting paid millions upon millions of dollars to facilitate the transport of illegal aliens across the country. So, a point being, charitably, they allowed it to happen. Realistically, they facilitated it, meaning the Biden people. That ought to be the story. The story ought to be about Biden doing this stuff. And instead, here we are, hand-wringing in the media about Trump and this, that, and the other. And for the Democrats, the elected Democrats that supported this, that, of course, saw this as a benefit to the Democratic Party, that's why they are being so aggressively defensive about this. Jasmine Crockett, for example, on deportations, that's like the dumbest person in Congress, which is a low bar.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here.
Well, I mean, we're sending them back to their country. I mean, how would we feel if people began sending us Americans, U.S. citizens that were in countries abroad illegally? I don't know. I don't think we have much say in it. Somebody's got a U.S. passport. Somebody's got U.S. citizenship. That's it. And by the way, countries do send our citizens back. I know people. I know, when I was in my 20s, I had friends who, went and traveled around the world and overstayed their visas, things like this. It wasn't anything nefarious or backpacking around Europe, whatever. And they get caught, arrested, and sent back. And then, would say, well, I can't visit that country ever again. It happens. Apparently, the only country not allowed to do that is us. Weird. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right Show will be back in just a moment. Don't go anywhere, folks. Lots to cover today. Greetings, friends. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian behind the What's Right microphone. Happy to be here this beautiful Friday afternoon. Yes, Vegas is a beautiful day here today. Those of you listening locally, those of you joining on our podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcast, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. Sometimes, I'll talk a little bit about local, Vegas stuff occasionally. And then I get these emails from those of you listening out there. Sam, I don't know where Summerlin is. I don't know where Summerlin is. And it was funny, it came into my head today because I was driving a different way to the office this morning than I normally do. I had to make a stop. And I passed by the freeway there, highway that has the big fancy sign that says Summerlin. And I kind of turned a light bulb and reminded me of a couple emails. And I did respond to you folks, so I got you. Summerlin, when I talk about the limousine liberals, the people here in town that I know that are insufferably leftist, who live behind two gates, where there's a gated community and there's a big neighborhood gate, and then there's a little subdivision inside the community, another gate. And these people try telling us about how people like Abrego Garcia ought to be in the country. So this is basically what I'm getting at. It's not like Beverly Hills, not that fancy, but it's the bougie part of town. Little bit of inside baseball explaining to you my terminology. Those of you who are not local, of course, local people here know exactly what I'm talking about. I saw the story real quick. I saw this too, Robbie. I'm glad you put this in my stack today. The Québécois. What are the Québécois? These are the people of Quebec. That's how they refer to themselves in their terrible French. It's like the worst French on the planet, I have to tell you. Yes, Quebecois French is awful. They're very proud of it, right? They make the whole country, speak French to them, basically. They refuse to speak English. People, it's well, not good. But here's the news from Quebec. This was 2 days ago. Thruples will be granted legal rights. What is a throuple? A recent court ruling in Quebec has granted multi-parental families in the province the same legal rights as any other unit. So you could have three people, presumably, in a is it a marriage or is it a domestic partnership? Three families were part of the case. This was a case brought through the courts there. One of them was a throuple, three adults, a man and two women who were in a relationship with four children among them. Just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, can you imagine going to school? Can you imagine elementary school? You show up here. Okay, well, little Sam, tell us about your house. Show and tell, whatever. And you say, well, I got a mommy, and a daddy. I am jealous of me, how easy I had it, probably many of you as well, how straightforward the world was when we were kids. And hell, I wasn't a kid even that long ago. I didn't have any weird stuff. We didn't have gay parents, or we didn't have, I mean, we did, but didn't talk about it openly, and we didn't read books about it. No doubt some of these schools in Quebec will now have, if they don't already, books about Johnny's three mommies. So, there's another case here, a lesbian couple and a male donor. So lesbians had a kid, and then the donor, the sperm donor, technically the father is what we would call him, who wants to be part of the child's life. I think about this. How confused are these kids? It's absolute madness. So anyway, Quebec has to have 12 months to amend the civil code there to match the ruling from the court. And apparently other Canadian provinces, including Ontario and British Columbia, already have given multi-parent families legal standing. So this is really progressive. I think when we take over Canada, Robbie, we're going to have to clean this up. Imagine, too, by the way, on the subject of immigration, imagine that we allowed thruples. This is just my lawyer head, like my thinking. I always go, well, okay, you establish this as a law. Now, how does it get exploited? And I think about immigration law, and I think about all the times. I mean, imagine this. Speaking of Summerlin, rich family up in Summerlin has a nanny. The nanny is illegal. Tom Homan comes by, knocking on the front door. We're here for Sarah, the illegal nanny. Rich family in Summerlin says, hey, not so fast. We're a legally recognized throuple. Well, don't give me that face. Don't look at me like that, Robbie. I'm just telling you, I know what people would do with this. They absolutely would help out. I mean, if it was Ilhan Omar, she would marry two brothers, briefly, to give them, to help them out getting their citizenship or residency. That's just, yeah. Oh, and I mean, just imagine this. I'm an employer, and it's, for me, by the way, I take on an enormous amount of burden every year with employer benefits and healthcare and whatnot for our team here. And that's, paying for, a person, an adult, dependent, right? And then all the other child dependents if they've got a family. Now imagine I got to pay for thruples. Shoot me. By the way, speaking of Tom Homan yesterday said something. It was a throwaway comment. It almost makes me think that we're going to have something to talk about next week. Well, no, he's not going after the Summerlin nanny. No, but Tom Homan said he's got the. Tom Homan does not say things for the sake of filling the air with sound. He's very purposeful and deliberate, and he's careful with his words. So the reporters came up to Tom Homan and said, keep talking about all these, these executive orders, sanctuary cities and things, and arresting the judge in Wisconsin. And Homan, right? Homan basically listens to the reporter saying, and then responds. Here's back and forth. First, you hear the reporter, and then the borders are Tom Homan responding.
So, the president signed an executive order just this week threatening to defund sanctuary cities for their policies. Why not just arrest the leaders who are harboring and shielding illegal aliens, actually terrorists, from deportation?
Wait to see what's coming.
Now, did you catch it? The reporter asked, so the president signed an executive order just this week threatening to defund sanctuary cities and their policies. Why not just arrest the leaders who are harboring and shielding illegal aliens, actually terrorists, from deportation? For example, I don't know, like a governor of a state, like that fat guy up in Illinois, Pritzker, Tuballard. Why not just go and arrest Pritzker? Triple handcuffs is what that would take. Homan's response, wait to see what's coming. Wait, I'm not allowed to enjoy this, Robbie? I'm having the time of my life. Folks, do we even deserve this? Do we even, the answer, of course, is yes, because the last 4 years have been a living hell. But at times, and today's one of those days, it's Friday, we try to keep the show a little bit lighter. Look, we should all just take a moment and think how fortunate we are to live in this time, in this place, in this era, where we this administration is everything I have ever wanted from an administration. Trump is doing the things that every Republican has come around to promise and never done. I've always talked about this. The great failure of the Republican Party is it makes all the right promises and there's no follow through. Because the minute that any Republican gets elected, they go along to get along and become features of the swamp. Not creatures, features, right? They become installations within the swamp and forget about actually fighting it. And this is the fundamental problem, right, with the Republican Party historically. I'll give you an example of that that happened in the last 24 hours when we come back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. On X, formerly known as Twitter, at What's Right Sam. I'll keep repeating that until each and every one of you follow me there. All right, don't go anywhere. Be right back after this. All right, folks, we are coming in hot, as they say. What's Right Show brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. I always say if you're in a crash, call Sam and Ash. Just easy little reminder. But I tell you, when you see this Kilmar Abrego Garcia video, this guy that was speeding down the freeway in Tennessee, he's got 8 people in the car. He's fearing people. The cops are going, oh my gosh, what's going on here? People like Kilmar Abrego Garcia are on the roads. I think you know where I'm going with this. That people are out there doing crazy stuff. And things, unfortunately, can go wrong. When they do, some of these cases that we handle, for example, are kind of complicated. They're a little bit hairy because, you got people you sometimes can't track. You got people like this that may end up deported to El Salvador. Tom Homan showing up with his butterfly net. So what do? A lot of it is just over the heads of your insurance adjuster. I promise you this. Your insurance company just wants to get out of it as neatly and cleanly as they possibly can and move on to processing the next claim. And fundamentally, they just want to save money. It's not about doing what's right for you. Now, hiring a personal injury lawyer, it's not a lottery win. You see a lot of advertisements out there for people saying, win with us. It's not like that. At least it's not like that with Sam and Ash Injury Law. Our slogan is, because you deserve what's right. And that's what it is. You deserve to get your car fixed. You deserve to get your life back on the road. You deserve to feel better and have your injury, no matter how severe or how minor, have it fixed. Right? You deserve to be taken care of. And that's what we do. So understand, a lot of lawyers out there, most of my colleagues are pretty rabid left-wing people. Sam and Ash Injury Law, we are like-minded with you, and this is the place to be for your case, and even just to get advice. I always talk about this. You can call us for advice. So, the number 702-820-1234, 820-1234. We have an office right here in Las Vegas and in Newport Beach, California, represent people in both states. And even if you've had something happen in another state, we're happy to talk to you and help you out, get the right attorney in the appropriate jurisdiction. All right, 702-820-1234. You can email me, sam@what'srightshow.com. And definitely don't go at it alone, and don't wait. If you get in an accident, the sooner you get advice and help, the better. Okay? It's not a fine wine. It doesn't get better with time. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Okay, friends. You know, I was mentioning just before the break how, as conservatives, the reason I and you, we all are having such a great time right now is because this is the administration. This is the, not just the Trump that we were always waiting for. This is the Republican we've been waiting for our entire lives. Doing something about illegal immigration, what a novel concept. Going after Harvard, ta-da, right? This is amazing. Shutting down the Department of Education. It keeps getting better and better and better. And it's all part of a reminder to me that for so many years, the Republican Party, every primary, every, election to win our votes, to get Republicans, you and I, to go out there and support them, they promise us. They whisper all of the right things into our ears. They send the flyer, stop illegal immigration. Stop it now. Do they? Well, no. And every time the Democrats are in power, more illegals come. When Republicans are in power, less illegals come. Some people get deported, but not really. And it's this game the Democrats are playing. They know that Republicans are good at playing possum, rolling over, playing dead. Because every Republican president, except for Donald Trump, is terrified of being called a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, a Nazi, a fascist. And these things now are rolling off of Trump's back like nothing. One of the best examples of this I can give you is the news overnight that Trump is cutting all funding to the CPB, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, otherwise known as NPR and PBS. Every Republican president in office since the early 1970s, this includes Nixon, with the exception of, Jerry Ford never promises, right? He was a bit of a squish. But every president since Nixon, or from Nixon on, right, including George H.W., George W. Bush, all promised to do this. They'd get up, they'd give a speech to Republicans on the campaign trail, cut CPB, cut NPR, it's propaganda. And all of us Republicans sitting there, yeah. And we send our contributions, we go and vote. They get into office, nada, zilch, doesn't happen. It's like in Peanuts, Lucy and the football. Here you go, Charlie Brown, here's the football. No, it's not. And we're done. Right? People say, Sam, explain to me why Trump has such a relationship with his supporters. And I'll tell you, because he's developed trust with his supporters. He has established himself now, and far more robustly in his second term. This is why people like Frank Luntz, who don't understand Trump, they fundamentally don't. Luntz is the pollster, the guy who played earlier this week. He had a sit down, a little focus group with all the Trump voters in there, asking them about their portfolios. Aren't they worried about their stocks? And this was in the midst of course, the market being very erratic. And, and I'll tell you, he was blown away, and he's been doing a media tour ever since. Frank Luntz has. Frank Luntz is a Republican pollster, but he's a never Trump guy. Okay, he does not like Trump. When I saw him out in Milwaukee over the summer, it was very evident. He's just holding his nose. And he's very high and mighty on himself. So Luntz is like going media circuit going, oh, I can't believe this Republican. I mean, the Trump supporters just love him. They still love him. I don't get it. Like, what? And the answer is very simple. Trump is fulfilling his campaign promises, and we Republicans are accustomed to having our candidates, our political leaders, say many of the same things actually that Trump has said on the campaign trail, and then not fulfill any of those promises. It certainly at times go directly against those campaign promises. That's I'm telling you how it is. So that's my explanation for the phenomenon. And I'm having a great time because finally they are going at this. And, you know, this is why, by the way, we have such a problem. When we get to the top of the hour, I'm going to get into DOGE. Because we didn't get to this profligate spending, wasting money, you know, that's a huge component of our country's risk right now. It isn't just the alien invasion. Illegal alien. Be clear about that. Illegal alien, not the little green men from space. But I'm just saying, Biden would have let the little green men from space in as well. But the illegal immigrant invasion is one thing. The other part of this is our crushing national debt. It didn't just happen overnight. Every time the Democrats were in power, they pushed the envelope even further. When a Republican came into office, promising and campaigning, right, to fix that and to cut spending, they, at best, kept things flat. And that's the problem. These kids that are working, young people working on DOGE, is phenomenal stuff. All right, we'll get to that next. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right Show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., right here on News Talk 840 KXNT. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. Sam at what'srightshow.com is where you can find me. And of course, on X, on Twitter, also a great place to follow me and keep track of things where I make announcements about the show and comment on things happening in real time. You can find me at What's Right Sam. Perfect. There it is. Now you know where to find me. Okay. Happy Friday, by the way. Things are looking good. I just wanted to bring up the story here that came out yesterday on the Daily Wire. Spencer Lundquist writing this piece, very important because it links up the importance of immigration and the subject of our financial resources in the country. You know, Trump has been correctly emphasizing the danger of allowing unvetted migrants into the United States. These people are dangerous. Many of them are criminals. Many of them have criminal histories in their home country and have been deliberately sent here to hurt the United States. Venezuela, for example, literally training up criminal gangs in their paramilitary tactics and then deploying them into the U.S., which is why, of course, the Alien Enemies Act is appropriate to deal with this. But there is a financial cost. And in this piece, Lundquist writes that illegal aliens have cost Texas, just in Texas, hospitals, more than $120 million in the month of November last year alone. Texas hospitals, quote, are on the hook for $121.8 million incurred by illegal aliens across 31,000 visits in the month of November. This is data collected by the Texas Health and Human Services Commission. Now, these findings come after Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed an order directing this agency to collect and provide quarterly data on the cost of illegal aliens to the state's hospitals and the number of visits from illegal aliens. You know, what if they did this in California, Robbie? Oh my gosh, there'd be, I think, a revolution. Quote, many of these illegal immigrants are straining the Texas hospital system, which is why Governor Abbott directed the Texas Health and Human Services Commission to begin assessing the cost of care. This is from the governor's press secretary, Andrew Mahalaris. The Texas legislature is currently considering legislation that would turn Abbott's order into a state law that would require hospitals to provide the data to the agencies. Now, this is a big look. From 2006 to 2008, a separate report showed that the Texas hospitals faced anywhere from $600 to over $700 million in uncompensated health care costs for illegal aliens. The point is that there is a financial burden that illegals pose on this country. And it is an absolute misnomer when you hear from nice people who are compassionate and who are nice and woke and live behind their double gates in fancy neighborhoods and are not affected by any of this, don't see any of these problems, and go, but Sam, they're contributing. Contributing. Yeah, they're contributing. Yeah, they're costing us a lot of money. And I'm convinced on balance that illegal immigration is a net loss financially to the United States. And I'm not even talking about security. I'm not even talking about crime, traffic accidents, DUIs, etc. Just financially, a net loss for our country and for every state in the country that is burdened by this. Now, right-sizing and fixing the enormous outflow of expenses in our country goes beyond just fixing illegal immigration. And this sit-down yesterday, Jesse Waters had on his show an incredible roundtable discussion with the DOGE team. And at every turn, this stuff just did not stop surprising me at how terrible, how poorly our country was run, deliberately allowing people to siphon off enormous sums of money, essentially for frivolous and purpose-driven personal use. This is one of the kids there. They're young. These kids are in their late teens, early 20s. Very, very smart. They're talking about the Institute of Peace. This is one of the different departments. You have the USAID, the Institute for Peace, talking about the kind of money that they get. If I told you that we were sending $130,000 payments to some guy in the Taliban, would that surprise you? You think that's a good use of our taxpayer money? Listen to this.
Yeah, and so it was by far the least peaceful agency that we've worked with, ironically.
Of course.
Additionally, we found that they were spending money on things like private jets, and they even had a $130,000 contract with a former member of the Taliban. This is real. We don't encounter that at most agencies.
Yeah.
What was the money going to the Taliban for?
So it was a contractor. They received $130,000 for generic services. And to Elon's point, there was not actually a clear description of what the contractor services were for. But
was it for opium?
Unclear.
Or weapons?
Or nothing.
Or nothing.
or abroad.
Or, nothing.
And you naturally have to ask the question, well, how did we get here? Like, when the country was founded, there were only 4 agencies. Today, there are over 400. So there's been a 100x increase in the number of agencies since the founding of the nation. And thanks to President Trump, he's now signed 2 executive orders to start to reduce the number of agencies in the government, and the Institute of Peace was one of them, which is why our team went in to try and understand what was going on. And that's when we found all of the craziness, like the weapons in their armory. We found the payments to the Taliban.
Okay. So just try to hide the evidence.
Right. So just a few hours after we got into their headquarters, we found that their chief accountant had actually deleted over 1 terabyte of accounting records from several years. So you'd have to ask the question, well, why would somebody do that? The DOGE team, fortunately, was able to recover that data with the help of a few great employees at the Institute of Peace. And I think the most troubling thing was they received $55 million a year from Congress, and any money that went unspent, instead of returning that to Congress, they would sweep it into a private bank account, which had no congressional oversight. And that's what they would use to fund things like events at their headquarters and the private jets.
Now, this is outrageous stuff. Do you fly on a private jet? Is that normal for you? No. You and I are just the suckers that get every April 15th, we got to pay our tax bill. And then Congress sends, appropriates X amount of dollars to these different agencies. And these agencies then spend them on whatever the hell they want. Now, why is it that they were able to do this? And one of the number one, to me, the worst thing in all of this is the lack of any kind of traceability of funds spent. If I write a check out of my general account, I have to say, what is it for? What is, what category is it? Is it, office expenses? Is it payroll? Is it, is it, meals and entertainment? If it's something that I have to absolutely say what it's for. And they weren't doing any of this. Here's a DOGE staffer talking about this yesterday. Again, this is on Fox News, and it's stunning.
One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for anything. Yeah. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education, and there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that DOGE made with the Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing so, yes, nobody drew down any money anymore.
Yes, but we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog. Anything. Anything. But as soon as we asked for anything at all, suddenly the requests were like, oh, we don't need it anymore. Huh, that's interesting.
They were renting Caesar's Palace.
Yes, they were like basically partying on the taxpayer money.
Stadiums.
Yes.
Leasing stadiums.
Leasing stadiums.
For what?
For parties, basically.
For parties.
Yes.
Scandalous. All of this is absolutely scandalous. Now, the reason it lasted as long as it did is because I'm convinced both sides, Republicans and Democrats, had their hand in the till. I think they were able to buy off enough Republicans to never have any real opposition to any of this. But Trump is here to destroy and break up the machine that went after him. The biggest mistake that the Democratic Party made ever in the history of stupid mistakes the Democratic Party has made was to go after Donald Trump after he left the White House in 2021. Because this is a man on fire, and he is not stopping anything. And if we cut their funding, if we get all of this money cut, A, of course, we have hopes of balancing the budget, but B, this is their patronage network. This is how they bribe people. All this $50 million a year of just, going into a black hole. And imagine, right, how many people you can buy off with that. Think of how many spouses of congressmen you can pay $200K a year to for a no-show job and make it so that family lives twice as well as it was living without that paycheck, maybe more, right? And suddenly, you're changing people's votes. Suddenly you've got people going along with it. I mean, Trump's in danger, to be perfectly blunt with you, all right? I mean, he's going after everybody in D.C. that has benefited, that has been living off of this, this, what we call this, like money tree or, bottomless bank account. Absolute scandal, if you ask me. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. The DOGE interview last night. This is very important. I'm glad that Musk and his team are getting out there and are answering questions. People need to know that what DOGE is doing is so critically important. And they say, listen, there's so much fraud, by the way, that they've almost become numb to it. Waters said it's driving him crazy. And this exchange here is kind of sobering.
This is driving me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
When you find these things, do you guys get mad? You're like, yes, I got one. How does it make you feel?
It's so common. It's so common.
You're like used to it.
I mean, you just get
numb to it. Like,
unfortunately, you, like the 100th time you've heard it, it's hard not to get a little numb.
Yeah.
You know, but and by the 200th time, you're like, well, okay, it's just another day at the office.
That's crazy. And what's it like being on DOGE? You popular? This was an Asian kid, a really smart guy, nice guy, says he dropped out of Harvard. Everybody at Harvard hates him now because he works for DOGE. Remember, these people have been doxxed, their identities revealed, they've been getting all sorts of death threats, absolutely awful stuff. These are people fighting for the future of the country, and they're working very long hours to make it happen.
And email threats from reporters and the public alike. I think, speaking for myself, I dropped out of Harvard and came here to serve my country. And it's been unfortunate to see, lost friendships. Most of campus hates me now. But I think fundamentally, I hope people realize through conversations like this that reform is genuinely needed. And if there's one, I think this is important to say, if there's one group of people who really have a shot of success, it's the people here. They're up until 2 a.m., Monday through Sunday. DOGE does not recognize weekends. We're working all the time.
What inspired you to drop out of Harvard to do this?
There's a lot of reform that's needed. I think the value of this and the impact here is so much more vast than anything you could learn in a classroom doing computer science.
And you guys are sleeping here, I'm hearing. You guys are up all night. You have this meeting at 10 o'clock every Wednesday?
We'll probably go back to work right after this.
Yeah.
You're going back to work after this?
Yes.
Right.
It's almost 11 o'clock.
That's early.
It's early? Can I go to bed? It's an incredible work ethic. You guys should be really, really proud of yourself.
So they work until 2 a.m. every day, Monday through Sunday. This is why I think we're going to win. I mean, the swamp people aren't working these hours. Hell, they didn't even show up to work. In fact, when you told the federal employees to come back to work, they now have to show up Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Many of them were like, okay, see ya, we'll take the buyout. The only hope that we have is that we outwork them. Now, with people like this, that hope, I think, is based in some sort of reality. Listening to these young people talk instills an enormous amount of respect, obviously, in me, but also it gives me great hope for our country. This young generation that's coming up is really put off by what generations before it have done. They're grossed out by it. And so they've I think you see the different surveys and things, a very conservative group of young people now coming up, and that more so than millennials, absolutely, and certainly boomers have shifted leftward and continue to shift leftward. So it's Democrats wanted to appeal to the youth, and they're losing the youth because the youth have realized, and maybe not all are able to articulate this, but the promise of a good life has been taken from them by the liberals, by the Democrats. This spending has mortgaged their futures. And the boomers, my generation, I am, borderline millennial. We just kind of shrug their shoulders. Yeah, that's fine. We'll deal with it later. And this generation is realizing you can't deal with it later. Now, this point about government employees made right here, great clip as well.
Do good people come up to you and say thank you for doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. There are people in the State Department that will stop you, or all of the agencies that we've been to, that'll stop you in the hallways or write emails and say, I was scared to write this, or I don't know if you're interested in this. But they usually have great ideas. And if they often have the best ideas because they've worked in the places and they've been stifled by the bureaucracy for so many years. So one of the great things that, at least in my experience, and we listen to them and empower them.
So yes, in fact, I'd like to emphasize that because we'd like to just give a big thank you to all the government employees who are helping reduce the waste and fraud, because this is, we really couldn't do it without you.
I think it's really important to recognize every single person around this table that's embedded within an agency is supporting that agency, whether they're working on systems or working through people. We are encountering droves of government employees who are missionaries, not mercenaries, who are actually here serving because they believe in what they're doing and they want to do things well. We are trying to empower them, and they feel empowered now to ask the question of why? Why aren't we doing this? What else can we be doing? How can we fix this? And I think agency by agency, it is filled with exceptional government employees, right? And when we give them the tools, when we give them the systems, and we leave behind systems to help them do their jobs better, that's the permanent change, right? And they're embracing that, not because it's new to them, it's because it's something they've always wanted to do. But for the first time ever, we're giving them the tools and the collaboration to be able to do that.
Can you imagine being in the government and having some principles and scruples and wanting to actually do good? And you go there, you show up on your first day, and they're like, hey, hi, Sam, welcome to the office. We don't work here. We party, we go to Caesar's Palace, we blow money. And with what we're supposed to be doing, it's all a scam. How demoralizing. So we ought to right-size the government and cut the fat and get down to the people that are really the best of the best. Maintain those. All right, I have to take a quick break. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Folks, I know you guys asked me, what do you mean by that, Sam? You arrogant man. No, I don't get it. I'm always, I'm always 100% correct, and I do correct myself here when I feel that I've made an error. I'm mostly correct. All right? A pretty decent track record here. I just say I'm always right. See, it's a pun. I have to explain it to you. I'm sorry. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. My voice is leaving me, folks. It's almost gone. I'll be honest with you. This has been a week. I was just telling Robbie during the break here, I almost bagged the show today. I almost did. I woke up, I was terribly unwell overnight. Had a sore throat yesterday. I don't know if I have the plague or if it's just some allergies. 44 years old, almost 45, and I still don't know the difference. It started yesterday. In fact, Robbie, it started right in the middle of the show, and I started having the burning in my throat, and I was gulping water down, and I got through it because, folks, I really do sacrifice a lot to deliver the show Monday through Friday. So I wasn't going to quit mid-broadcast. I'm not a government employee. I'm not PBS. Okay, so I wasn't going to do that. So I went all the way through it, and then went home, canceled my evening plans last night, went home and went to bed. Okay. Early. I woke up in the middle of the night, felt terrible. It was like, no way I could do the show. And then, as if by some sort of miracle, I woke up in the morning and I felt decently good. So, here I am. But I'm just telling you, I'm struggling a little bit. My voice is killing me. So, speaking of DOGE and saving money for the government, there was an interesting back and forth that I definitely wanted to share with you. This was on Wednesday, a town hall that was hosted on News Nation with Chris Cuomo. Stephen A. Smith and Bill O'Reilly. Remember Bill O'Reilly? Bill O'Reilly. What would Rush call Bill O'Reilly? I always remember Rush did not like Bill O'Reilly. I never liked Bill O'Reilly either. And it wasn't because Rush had antipathies for him. I always thought that Bill O'Reilly was an asshole. Just a jerk, a gratuitous jerk. You could tell. I don't like, now listen, don't get me wrong, folks. Sometimes I lose my mind on people too. I hit my limit and I can, but I'm always kind. Look, I live here in Las Vegas. If you'll be hard pressed to hear a story about me being unkind in a restaurant, for example. It's just who I am. I'm a friendly guy. I like people. It takes a lot. You can push me to a limit and then I'll start getting snappy. But Bill O'Reilly's a guy that talks down to waiters. That's just who he is. And I don't like that. I think Rush didn't like it either because Rush, if I bring up the one and only great Rush Limbaugh, was tremendously generous with people and very kind. And it would catch people off guard because the media made him out to be this giant monster. And then when you ran into him, he was just a lovable, teddy bear, and extremely generous, would always tip very well, things like that, right? So Bill O'Reilly, reputationally, is not like that. As Howard Stern is another guy, even worse. Howard Stern, a complete DI beep. So anyway, I'm just setting this up here. Wednesday, who was this? I think Stephen A. Smith asked RFK Jr., the Kennedy that is with Trump. If you were listening in the first hour, you know the little wink wink I have for that. The one Kennedy that's with Trump. Yeah. RFK Jr. asks him about all the jobs that are being cut from the HHS. Like, how can you do this? How can the agency function? How are you going to cure disease? How are you going to pay people? Oh, this is terrible. The answer that RFK Jr. gives is really fantastic. So here is the Stephen A. Smith question and the RFK Jr. answer.
Mr. Secretary, Stephen A. Smith here. Thank you for coming on the show. HHS reduced your employee status from 82,000 to 62,000 employees, if I remember correctly. Cut about $1.8 billion. But nevertheless, you got a lot of American citizens wondering how on earth are you going to ensure that we're going to become a healthier society with over 20,000 less employees to look over things and purview things to some degree. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say during the Biden administration, my agency grew by 38%, and Americans got sicker. So it's not throwing money at it or hiring people that is solving the problem. We have so much redundancy in our agency. We have 100 communications departments. We have 40 IT departments. We have 40 procurement departments. What we did is we're streamlining the agency and we're recalibrating its trajectory so that people there are narrowly focused on one issue, which is how do we end the chronic disease epidemic. When my uncle was president, 3% of Americans had chronic disease. Today it's 60%. It's costing us $1.6 trillion a year. About 95% of our health care budget is going to chronic disease. When my uncle was president, we spent zero on chronic disease. 74% of our kids cannot qualify for military service. So this is an existential threat to our national security. It's an existential threat to our economy. And we have to narrowly focus on that. And that's what the new HHS is doing.
I love this. By the way, I'm probably about 10 minutes away from my voice sounding just like RFK Jr. So Bill O'Reilly, Mr. Magoo here, answers the question. He jumps in. He goes, wow, I really like that answer.
That was an excellent answer.
That's
an excellent answer.
I mean, let me tell you, you talk about a disease you were able to cure.
That's right.
And I'll go further. Most political appointees are pinheads. all right, in my 50 years experience in journalism. They don't care about improving things. They care about their job title, their prestige, their expense account. But Stephen A's question was right on the mark. And I go, ooh, that's a good question. You had an answer that everybody could understand. And that's what more people should do. And you know me, Kennedy, I wouldn't kiss your butt at all. I'm telling you the truth.
You never have, though.
Oh, what, Kennedy? I wouldn't kiss your butt. Bill O'Reilly. F it, we're going live. You know what that's referring to? There's a classic. When Bill O'Reilly was on the No Spin Zone on Fox, he would, they would pre-record the open. Okay. And he was trying to pre-record. He kept flubbing the line. And then we're up against airtime. He's like, all right, F it, we're going live. And once he was doing it live, he did it flawlessly. The tape of that leaked out on the internet, and the rest is history. F it, we're going live. Bill O'Reilly. Well, O'Reilly's like, yeah, this is great. I mean, I know RFK Jr. gets a lot of flack. Trump has put together the dream team. And they're united in purpose to downsize government, make government more efficient, make government work better for us. And it's transforming the government in a way that, frankly, right, will not only make the government function better, but also make our economy as a whole function better. Remember one of the things that was said when everybody was freaking out, well, what about the jobs? What about the jobs? You're going to kick all these people out of the government, and then they're not going to be employed. Then they're not going to be employed. Sam, then they're not going to be employed. And then what? Good heavens. We're going to, we're just going to be, people are going to be out on the street. And if you look at, this is very important. Where's the clip? We got the, where's our MSM? Where's our Fox News clip? Which one is that one? Where's our jobs report clip? This one's really important. Do we have it? Perfect. Here we go. This was this morning about the jobs report. If you haven't heard it, the stock market roared today because guess what? This
436,000 increase in the number of people who are employed. So this is an amazing report. The number of people, the labor force participation rate rose. So this is a really strong number. I wanted to mention one other quick thing. About 2 weeks ago, every headline, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, was, the stock market is crashing. And since then, the market has been up, like 2,800 points.
Yeah, well, you don't see that
by the way, I don't see headlines about that.
That was the point, that Scott Bessent made.
Employers added 177,000 jobs in April despite tariff uncertainty. That is the Wall Street Journal headline. All right. The jobless rate held steady at 4.2% in spite of the fact of millions of people now being let go from the federal government. What is happening is exactly what Elon Musk said would happen. This is immediately transforming the nature of our economy. We're putting people into more productive work. We're getting them out of jobs that do not contribute to GDP. We're putting them into jobs that do. The joblessness does not increased. Number of jobs added has exceeded expectations. And what will happen a year from now, I'm telling you folks, the economy will be roaring. This is what keeps me hopeful that things will go well in 2026 for the midterms. People say, Sam, you're worried about the Supreme Court? No, I'm only worried about the midterms. The Democrats need to keep their hands off of Congress so that the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself can continue doing what they're doing. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT, back in a jiff. Yeah, talking here with Robbie during the break. Of course, I need to explain this, what I mean, that it's all about the midterms and not so much about the Supreme Court. Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right Show. Happy Friday. So, very simply put, Trump could literally ignore everything the Supreme Court does, says, opines, and none of it would matter. The only accountability that Trump faces is from Congress. The only thing that can happen to Trump, the only remedy to stopping Trump would be an impeachment proceeding, a successful impeachment in the House and in the Senate. By the way, that requires just a little polish up here. It requires articles of impeachment to be filed, a trial to be held, and a conviction in the House, right? Or the articles passing in the House at 51% majority vote, straight majority vote, and then in the Senate 2/3 of the senators present. It's a high bar. And that really only would happen if Democrats, by some chance, ran away with the midterms. Okay? Ran away with it. They would have to control the House in order to even get impeachment through. Republicans would not allow that to happen. And there would have to be enough votes in the Senate to get rid of Donald Trump. Now, I don't see that happening. By the way, I think where we are going to be economically and as a country is going to be orders of magnitude better a year from now than it is today. But even right now, how popular is Trump? And Harry Enton, yesterday on CNN, got into this. And I tell you, because remember, Kamala popped up the other day, played her clip about the elephant video, and she sounds like a complete moron. People were asked, who would you trust better being president now, Trump or Kamala Harris? Well, the result, to me at least, is not surprising.
Who would be doing a better job as president? Guess who comes out on top? Within the margin of error, but comes out on top. This looks a lot like the election result, right? Trump 45%, 2 points ahead of Harris at 43%. 12% say they'd be doing about the same. But this is the key nugget here. It's not just about regretting that vote. It's literally saying who would be doing the better job right now. And Trump continues to score a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala Harris. This looks a heck of a lot like the election result. We have just seen this in poll after poll after poll. Despite the fact that Trump's favorable ratings aren't too hot to trot, when he's matched up against who he was matched up in 2024, he still, across the polls, scores a higher percentage than Kamala Harris does.
Even if they don't know exactly what she would have done, they still went for Donald Trump.
And by the way, I don't believe any of the favorability polling, right? I think that that's all cooked. I think those are funny numbers. And the fact that more people still would prefer Donald Trump over Kamala Harris is a different form of question, and it's coming out that actually Donald Trump may be much more popular than he is given credit for in some of these Democrat-funded polls. So, there it is. Now, what about Trump versus members of Congress? Because that is what the midterms are going to be. The midterms are going to be Trump v. the Democrats. And midterms typically are a referendum on the incumbent administration. Again, terrible news for Democrats.
Okay, what about when he's matched up against congressional Democrats who we know have had some pretty rough numbers?
Yeah, they have had some pretty rough numbers. So Kamala Harris obviously doesn't hold elected office right now, but Democrats in Congress sure do. So who do you trust more on the U.S. main problems, the main problems in the United States? Well, what do we have here? It's the same exact picture, folks. It's the same exact picture. When you match Donald Trump against his actual competition, Donald Trump comes out ahead. Look at this, 40% to congressional Democrats, 32%. Going to make a big circle here. But the bottom line is, when you look at Donald Trump in a vacuum, it's one thing. But when you actually match him up against folks in the real world, all of a sudden his numbers look considerably better. And when you match him up against his main competition at this point, Democrats in Congress, he is more trusted on the main problems facing the United States right now. In fact, it's not even close. It's an 8-point advantage, which in this politics, well, that's a wide ocean.
It's huge, and maybe tells the Democrats that their messaging is not working at this point in time.
Yeah, going down there like patty cake with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Maybe that isn't working. It's not just the messaging. Now, what about the issues? GOP versus the Democrats, Republicans versus Democrats on the issues. Well, how about immigration and the economy? Let's start there.
Which party has a better plan? And this is the margin among registered voters. Look at this on immigration. The GOP crushes the Democrats. Look at that. That's a 19-point edge. My goodness gracious. You rarely ever see leads like that in politics these days. How about on the economy, where Donald Trump's numbers have been struggling a little bit? But even there, Republicans hold a 9-point lead. If Democrats think that at this particular point, just because Donald Trump is unpopular, that they're going to run away with it like a Heisman Trophy winner, that is not necessarily the case. These numbers should be a major wake-up call for Democrats. Despite Donald Trump's unpopularity in the polls, when you actually go up against him and you put Democrats' names against him, when you put Republicans as a whole up against him, Republicans and Donald Trump do considerably better. And that is why Democrats, in fact, cannot count their chickens just yet, because those eggs have not cracked at this particular moment.
I think you said the pivotal thing, the important thing, which is Democrats are not going to be running away with anything. They have to start thinking about what their message is going forward.
That's exactly right, because at this point, the Democratic message ain't selling a thing.
Yes, and by the way, Robbie, you're absolutely right. Robbie's whispering in my ear over here, telling me that these are the two issues that the Democrats have been banging on about this entire time for 100 and what are we at, 2 days of the Trump presidency? 3. We're at 103. Right. Tuesday was day 100. We're 103. For 103 days, it's all the Democrats are talking about is immigration, economy, immigration, right? And it turns out that the Republicans are far more trusted than the Democrats as a whole. And by extension, of course, the Republicans are right now Donald Trump, and the Democrats are right now, I don't know what, a hodgepodge of a bunch of freaking lunatics running around going, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. James Carville out there spitting chiclets. And, you know, this is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I don't even have time now to play the. You know, you're gonna have to tune in on Monday. I'm gonna have to come back to the Trump in Alabama. I got to get back to it. We just do not have time for everything, folks. The point is this: don't despair. Trump has better judgment than all of us put together, believe it or not. And the left still is suffering with TDS, and they think that hating on Trump is going to be enough to let them win. Well, it has failed them multiple times already, and it will continue failing because Trump right now is doing exactly everything the way he ought to. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Have a great weekend, folks, and I'll see you on the other side of it. Be safe out there.